It was a calm, sunny afternoon in a quiet neighborhood. Birds chirped softly, and the streets were almost empty, except for a few children riding bicycles and neighbors tending their gardens. Alex, a 16-year-old boy, was walking home from school. He always took this route because it was peaceful, and he liked watching the little things around him, the way leaves moved with the wind, the kids laughing in the distance and the smell of fresh bread from Mrs. Clark's bakery. Alex was a polite, kind boy. He had a soft smile that made him seem approachable, and he often helped his neighbors carry groceries or mow their lawns when they were busy or unwell. That afternoon, Alex had a backpack slung over one shoulder and a sandwich in his hand. He was thinking about the math homework waiting for him at home and wondering if he would have time to play video games later. He didn't notice the police car slowly turning into his street. Inside, Officer Briggs was scanning the neighborhood with a frown. Briggs was a man in his 40s, tall and muscular, with a voice that could make people feel nervous even before he spoke. He had a reputation in the neighborhood. Some people called him strict, others said harsh, and a few whispered that he enjoyed showing his authority more than helping people. Briggs saw Alex walking alone, and something about the boy's relaxed manner irritated him. Maybe it was Alex's casual stride, or the fact that he seemed unconcerned about the officer's presence. Briggs decided to approach. He stepped out of the car, his boots clicking against the pavement. Alex, hearing the sound, looked up with a friendly smile, not knowing what was coming. "Hey, kid." "Stop right there," Briggs said sharply. Alex froze. The voice was loud and commanding, and the way Briggs stood made the boy feel small and uneasy. "Yes, sir," Alex replied politely, adjusting his backpack. "Where are you going in such a hurry? Walking around without permission? Do you think you can just roam the streets?" Briggs demanded, leaning slightly closer. His eyes narrowed as if searching for a reason to punish Alex. Alex's heart beat faster. He wasn't doing anything wrong, but the officer's tone made him feel guilty. "I'm just walking home from school," Alex explained calmly. "I didn't do anything wrong." Briggs didn't respond. Instead, he squinted at Alex's backpack and then at the sandwich in his hand. "What do you have there? Did you steal that? Are you trying to get into trouble?" Alex blinked in surprise. "No, sir. It's just a sandwich I bought from the bakery on the corner." Briggs snorted and shook his head, his face tightening with impatience. "You're lying, aren't you?" "I don't believe you." "Hand over your bag." Alex hesitated. He didn't want to cause trouble, but he also didn't want to be treated unfairly. "I can show you what's inside, but I haven't done anything wrong," he said softly. Briggs's frown deepened. "I said hand it over." His voice grew louder, drawing attention from a few neighbors who had started peeking through their windows. Some whispered to each other, sensing that something unpleasant was unfolding. Alex reluctantly opened his bag. It contained books, notebooks, and his lunchbox. Nothing unusual, but Briggs didn't seem satisfied. He grabbed the bag roughly, tipping it upside down. Papers fell onto the sidewalk, and the sandwich slipped out and landed on the ground. Alex's face turned red, both from embarrassment and frustration. "See? You're making a mess. You should be more careful," Briggs barked. "And don't try to lie to me again." Alex tried to pick up his books. "Please, sir. I was just walking home. I'm not lying, and I didn't do anything wrong." Briggs shook his head and glared at him. "You think you can talk back to me? You need to learn respect. Maybe a lesson is what you need." Alex felt a lump in his throat. He wanted to explain, to tell Briggs that he was just a regular kid, that he helped his neighbors, that he studied hard and tried to be kind. But every time he opened his mouth, Briggs interrupted. The officer's words were harsh, full of authority, and they left Alex feeling powerless. What Alex didn't know was that a few streets away, a small crowd was gathering for a filming shoot. John Cena was in the neighborhood for a charity commercial, visiting local families to support kids in need. Cena, always attentive and aware of his surroundings, noticed the commotion from a distance. At first, he thought it might just be a normal neighborhood disagreement. But as he watched Briggs corner Alex, he could see the boy's unease and fear. Cena moved closer quietly, blending in with a few crew members who were walking along. He saw Alex standing stiffly, trying to hold his ground, while Briggs continued to berate him. Something about the scene felt wrong to Cena. The boy wasn't aggressive. He wasn't dangerous. Yet the officer acted as if he had committed a serious crime. Cena's instincts told him that Alex needed support, even if it was just to make the officer think twice about his actions. Back on the sidewalk, Alex's hands trembled slightly as he rearranged the papers from his backpack. He felt humiliated. People on the street were starting to notice, some whispering, some shaking their heads. Alex wished he could disappear. He had never been treated this way before, especially not by someone who was supposed to protect him. "Kid, I'm not finished with you," Briggs said, his voice rising. "You need to answer my questions properly. Do you have anything else to say?" Alex swallowed hard. I'm just going home," he said, trying to keep his voice steady. "I haven't done anything wrong." The officer's expression darkened. "You think you can just talk back to me? You think you can ignore my authority? Maybe a short visit to the station would remind you how serious I am." Alex's heart pounded. The thought of going anywhere with Briggs terrified him. He wished he had someone there with him, someone who could explain that he hadn't done anything wrong. He felt alone. From a few feet away, Cena stepped forward. He didn't announce himself loudly, didn't want to make a scene, but his presence was noticeable. He was tall, strong, and calm. He walked toward Briggs with a steady stride. "Excuse me," Cena said, his voice firm but polite. "Is everything okay here?" Briggs looked at Cena, a little startled. "Who are you?" he asked, clearly not expecting anyone to intervene. "I'm just a passerby," Cena replied calmly, "but I couldn't help noticing that this young man seems upset. I wanted to make sure nothing serious is happening." Alex froze. He had no idea who this man was, but the way Cena stood, confident yet calm, gave him a small sense of relief. Maybe he wasn't completely alone. Briggs's jaw tightened. "This doesn't concern you. Stay out of it." Cena didn't step back. "I understand," he said, "but it's important to treat people fairly, especially kids. Let's try to solve this without anyone getting hurt or upset." Briggs blinked, momentarily thrown off. No one had ever spoken to him like that before. Cena's presence changed the energy on the street. People nearby felt a little braver, some whispering to each other, noticing that the officer no longer had complete control of the scene. Alex felt a tiny spark of hope. Maybe this man could help. Maybe he didn't have to face this alone. Briggs, realizing he was being watched and that his behavior might not be appropriate, took a step back. His tone softened slightly, though his pride made it clear he wasn't ready to admit he was wrong. "This is my business. You don't need to interfere." Cena remained calm. "Sometimes it's good to pause and make sure we're doing the right thing," he said gently. "I just wanted to make sure this young man is okay." Alex looked up at Cena, grateful for the support. For the first time in minutes, he felt like someone saw him, really saw him, and wanted to help. His shoulders relaxed just a little, and he took a deep breath, trying to calm the fear that had gripped him. The tension on the street had not disappeared, but Cena's presence had shifted the balance. The once overpowering energy from Briggs felt less intimidating. People around them watched quietly, sensing that this was more than just an ordinary confrontation. Alex still didn't know what would happen next, but for the first time he felt like he wasn't completely powerless. A stranger had stepped in, not with anger, but with fairness, and that small act of intervention made a huge difference to a boy who had been facing humiliation and fear alone. The sun shone softly, the birds continued to chirp, and life in the neighborhood seemed to pause for a moment. On this quiet street, a confrontation that could have ended badly had been gently interrupted. And Alex, though still nervous, felt a glimmer of hope that justice, kindness, and support could exist even in unexpected places. After John Cena's calm intervention, the tension on the street did not immediately disappear. Officer Briggs, still glaring at Alex, seemed irritated not just by Cena's presence, but by the small crowd that had now gathered to watch. A few neighbors stepped outside their homes, some standing on porches, others peeking from windows, whispering to one another. Everyone could feel that something serious was happening. Alex, meanwhile, felt both relief and nervousness. He was relieved because Cena was now nearby, someone standing up for him, but he was still afraid of what Briggs might do next. "All right, kid," Briggs said, his voice slightly softer but still stern. "You've caused enough trouble for one day. I want to know exactly where you were going and why you were acting suspicious, and don't try to lie to me." Alex shook his head, trying to keep his voice calm. "I'm just walking home. I wasn't doing anything wrong. I didn't mean to upset anyone." Briggs narrowed his eyes. "Walking home isn't a crime, but being disrespectful or careless might be. And you've been careless. You should know better." Alex's stomach twisted. He wanted to explain, to tell the officer that he hadn't been careless, that he had followed all the rules, but every time he tried to speak, Briggs interrupted. Alex realized that this conversation wasn't about finding the truth. It was about asserting control. And for a 16-year-old boy, that was frightening. John Cena stayed calm, placing himself a few steps closer to Alex without making a confrontational stance. He could feel the officer's tension, and he knew that pushing too hard could make the situation worse. Cena looked at Alex and gave him a small nod, a silent signal that he wasn't alone. That simple gesture brought a tiny sense of courage to Alex, enough to keep him standing tall, even though his hands were still trembling. A few of the neighbors now stepped a little closer. One elderly woman who had seen Officer Briggs act harshly before spoke quietly from her porch. "Maybe calm down, officer. The boy isn't dangerous. Let's not make this worse." Briggs shot her a sharp look but didn't respond. He seemed aware that he was being watched and judged, something he clearly didn't like. Alex, feeling a little stronger with Cena nearby, took a deep breath. "I understand, sir. I'll be careful, and I didn't mean any trouble," he said softly. "I was just walking home, that's all." Briggs grunted as if this answer was not enough. Careful isn't enough sometimes. You need to respect authority, understand that people are watching, and make better choices. I can't let you go without making sure you learn that. Alex felt the words like a weight pressing down on him. He wanted to tell Briggs that he had been careful, that he had never done anything wrong, but he didn't know if it would make any difference. The officer's tone made it clear that this wasn't a conversation. It was a lecture, a test of obedience. John Cena finally decided it was time to step in more firmly. He spoke in a calm but commanding voice. "Officer, maybe there's a way to resolve this without making the boy feel scared. I understand your job is important, but I also think the boy has been respectful. Let's take a moment to think about what really matters here." Briggs blinked, taken aback. No one had ever spoken to him in this way before. He wasn't used to being challenged politely, and Cena's presence made it clear that anyone watching might not support him if he acted unfairly. For a moment, Briggs seemed to hesitate, unsure how to respond. Alex noticed the small pause. His heart skipped a beat, and he felt a glimmer of hope. Maybe this would finally end without him getting in trouble for something he didn't do. Cena continued, "Alex, it seems like you're trying to explain yourself. That's important. It's always better to listen and understand each other instead of escalating things." Alex looked up at Cena, grateful for the words. "Thank you," he whispered almost to himself. The officer took a step back, muttering under his breath. He was clearly frustrated, but he seemed to realize that escalating the situation further might not be wise. "Fine," he said, his voice lower. "But remember, kid, respect and obedience are important. Don't think this will go unnoticed next time." Alex nodded, relieved but still anxious. He had been humiliated in front of neighbors, and the fear of authority lingered like a shadow. He carefully picked up his papers from the sidewalk, feeling embarrassed but trying to appear composed. Cena placed a reassuring hand on Alex's shoulder. "It's okay," he said. "You handled this well. Just remember, sometimes people in positions of authority make mistakes, but staying calm and respectful is always the right choice." Alex nodded again, feeling a little braver. "I'll remember, sir. Thank you for helping me." Briggs, realizing the eyes of the community were on him, gave a final nod to Alex, though it was stiff and reluctant. He returned to his car without another word. The small crowd that had gathered slowly dispersed, some whispering about what they had just witnessed. People talked about how unfair the situation had seemed, and how remarkable it was that Cena had intervened calmly without making it more dramatic. Alex, still feeling shaken, started walking home again, now with Cena a few steps beside him. Cena spoke gently. "It's not easy to be in your position. You did well by staying calm and not arguing. That takes courage." Alex smiled weakly, still trying to shake off the fear. "I was really scared," he admitted. "I didn't know what he was going to do. I felt like I had no one to help me." Cena nodded, understanding. It's natural to feel that way. Nobody should have to feel scared when they're not doing anything wrong. That's why standing up for fairness matters, whether it's a kid or anyone else. As they walked, Alex noticed how Cena's presence made him feel less vulnerable. The boy realized that support could come from unexpected places and that even in frightening situations, someone willing to speak up could make a huge difference. When they reached a small park near Alex's home, Cena paused. I have to continue with my day, he said, but remember, bravery isn't just about fighting. It's also about staying calm, speaking up when needed and knowing that asking for help is okay. Alex nodded, inspired by Cena's words. I'll try to remember that, he said, feeling a newfound sense of confidence. Cena gave a friendly wave and walked off toward the filming crew. Alex watched him leave, thinking about how unusual it was for someone so famous and strong to act so kindly and calmly. The boy realized that kindness and fairness were powerful tools, and that even in the face of fear there was hope. Alex continued walking home, this time with a lighter step. He passed his neighbors, some of whom gave him small smiles or nods of encouragement. The neighborhood felt slightly different now, as if the events of the afternoon had reminded everyone that fairness and courage could shine even in ordinary moments. By the time Alex reached his street, he felt more confident. He had faced a difficult situation, endured humiliation, and learned something important about standing up with respect and calmness. And he knew that he wasn't alone. Sometimes allies appeared unexpectedly, and their support could make a world of difference. As he stepped into his home, Alex felt a sense of relief and reflection. He thought about Officer Briggs and the harsh words, but he also thought about John Cena's calm and fair approach. He realized that how people treated others revealed a lot about their character, and that courage and fairness could be found in the most unexpected moments. Alex unpacked his bag, neatly arranging his books and papers. He thought about the sandwich that had fallen on the ground, smiled at the small absurdity of the situation, and decided he would still eat it after washing it carefully. The incident was over, but its lessons lingered. He understood more clearly now the importance of patience, courage, and standing up for what was right, even when it felt frightening. Later that evening, Alex's parents asked him how his day went. He hesitated for a moment, unsure how to describe the encounter without worrying them. But then he told them honestly, explaining the confrontation, the fear, and how a stranger had stepped in to support him. His parents were shocked at first, but then they felt relief that he was safe and proud that he had handled the situation with calmness. Alex went to bed that night thinking about courage in new ways. He realized that it wasn't just about big heroic acts, it was also about small, thoughtful decisions like speaking politely, staying calm under pressure, and recognizing the difference between right and wrong. He drifted to sleep with a mix of exhaustion and satisfaction, knowing that today had taught him lessons he would remember for the rest of his life. The quiet neighborhood, once disrupted by fear and tension, returned to its usual rhythm. Birds sang softly, children laughed from a distance, and neighbors went about their evening routines. But for Alex, the day had been different. It had been a day of fear, bravery, and unexpected support, a day that would shape the way he saw fairness and courage forever. The next morning, Alex woke up, feeling a mix of emotions. The events of the previous day still lingered in his mind. He thought about Officer Briggs, about the harsh words and the fear that had gripped him. But he also remembered John Cena's calm and reassuring presence, the way he had spoken to Briggs, and the small nod that had told Alex he wasn't alone. That moment of support had meant more than Alex could fully express. He knew that day had changed something inside him, though he wasn't sure exactly what yet. Alex had breakfast with his parents, who asked him gently how his day had gone at school. He hesitated, still unsure how much to share. Eventually, he explained that there had been a misunderstanding with a local officer, that he had been scared, and that someone had stepped in to help him. He didn't even mention Cena at first, worried that his parents might not believe him. But when he did, their eyes widened in surprise. "John Cena?" his father asked incredulously. "The wrestler?" "Yes," Alex said quietly, feeling both proud and amazed. He helped me stay calm and made sure I wasn't treated unfairly." His mother shook her head, still in disbelief. "Well, that's incredible. But more importantly, are you okay?" "That must have been terrifying." Alex nodded. "I'm okay now. It was scary at the moment, but I learned something important. I don't have to feel powerless. Even when someone seems really strong or intimidating, staying calm and standing up politely matters." After school that day, Alex returned to the same neighborhood, thinking about how things had unfolded. He wanted to make sense of the incident, to process what had happened, and to feel confident again. He walked slowly, looking around at the familiar streets, remembering how tense they had felt just the day before. As he approached the corner where the encounter had happened, he noticed a few neighbors chatting quietly. Some of them waved at him, giving him small smiles of encouragement. Alex realized that people had been talking about the incident, and though it had been frightening, it had also reminded the community of how important it was to treat others with respect. That thought gave him a quiet sense of reassurance. Suddenly, Alex heard footsteps approaching behind him. He turned slightly and saw John Cena walking toward him again. Alex's eyes widened. He hadn't expected to see him so soon. "Hey, Alex," Cena said warmly. "I thought I'd check in. How are you feeling today?" Alex felt a little nervous but also comforted. "I'm better," he admitted. "It still feels strange thinking about it, but I feel stronger, I guess," Cena nodded. "That's good. Remember, strength isn't just physical. It's also about how you handle tough situations, how you keep calm, and how you stand up for yourself without hurting others." "You did that yesterday." Alex smiled faintly. "It didn't feel like strength at the time. I just felt scared." Cena chuckled softly. "That's normal. Feeling scared doesn't mean you're weak. It means you care. The key is how you act despite that fear. You acted respectfully, and that's what matters." As they walked together, Cena explained that not everyone in authority would act fairly, but that it was always important to respond in ways that maintained dignity and respect. Alex listened carefully, feeling inspired. He realized that bravery wasn't just about facing physical danger. It was about standing up with confidence, staying calm under pressure and doing the right thing even when it was difficult. Meanwhile, back in the neighborhood, news about the confrontation had started spreading. People talked quietly among themselves about how unusual it was for a public figure like Cena to step in calmly and fairly. They discussed how children in the neighborhood might learn from the example, how courage didn't have to be loud or violent, it could be quiet, respectful, and effective. Alex and Cena stopped at a small park bench. Cena sat down first and gestured for Alex to join him. "Tell me more about how you felt yesterday," Cena said gently. Alex thought for a moment, trying to put his feelings into words. "I felt scared at first. I didn't know what he would do. I felt like I had no control, like I couldn't explain myself. And it was embarrassing, too. Everyone was watching, and I didn't want people to think I had done something wrong." Cena nodded. "I understand. That's a lot to go through, especially at your age. But notice something. Despite feeling scared and embarrassed, you stayed calm and respectful. That's what made the difference. That's why you came out of the situation okay." Alex looked thoughtful. He realized Cena was right. Even though he had felt powerless, he had not yelled, fought, or run away. He had tried to explain himself politely. He had kept his composure. And someone had noticed, that someone being Cena, who had stepped in not with anger but with fairness. Cena continued. "Sometimes adults make mistakes. People in authority can act unfairly, or they can misjudge situations. That's why it's important to know how to respond calmly and to seek help if needed. You didn't let fear control your actions, and that's the most important lesson." Alex nodded slowly. "I understand now. It's not just about being brave in the moment. It's about keeping control and thinking clearly even when things are scary." Cena smiled. "Exactly. And remember, it's okay to ask for help. Asking for help doesn't mean you're weak. It means you're smart enough to know when support is needed. And sometimes help comes from unexpected places." Alex thought about how strange it had felt to have Cena there, a stranger who was also someone famous, stepping in to support him. It reminded him that kindness and fairness could come from anyone, anywhere, at any time. After a while, Cena stood up. "I need to continue with my day, Alex, but I want you to remember something. The way you handle difficult moments defines who you are. You showed patience, respect, and courage. Those are qualities that will help you for the rest of your life." Alex felt a surge of gratitude. "Thank you," he said sincerely. "I won't forget this." Cena nodded and gave him a reassuring pat on the shoulder before walking away. Alex watched him go, feeling a mix of awe and inspiration. He realized that courage and fairness were powerful forces, and that even in small everyday moments they could make a big difference. For the rest of the afternoon, Alex reflected on everything that had happened. He thought about Officer Briggs and how the officer's behavior had been harsh and unfair. But he also thought about how people, when they acted with kindness and fairness, could make a huge difference. He realized that life wasn't always fair, but his actions could still reflect who he wanted to be. Back in the neighborhood, Briggs returned to his routine, but he was quieter than usual. The confrontation with Cena and the public attention had left an impression on him. He had realized, perhaps for the first time, that his actions were being watched and judged. Alex didn't notice Briggs at first, but he could sense a change in the atmosphere. Alex returned home that evening, feeling more confident. He shared his thoughts with his parents, explaining how he had stayed calm and respectful, how Cena had helped him understand courage, and how he felt stronger for having faced the challenge. His parents listened carefully, proud of how their son had handled a difficult situation with maturity beyond his years. As night fell, Alex lay in bed thinking about bravery, fairness, and unexpected allies. He realized that true courage wasn't always loud or visible. Sometimes it was quiet, sometimes it was standing calmly in the face of fear, and sometimes it was knowing when to accept help and guidance from others. The events of that day had left a mark on Alex. They had shown him that even in frightening situations, fairness and support could exist. They had taught him that standing up with respect mattered more than reacting out of anger or fear. And they had shown him that people could act unexpectedly, doing small things that made a huge difference in someone's life. Alex drifted to sleep that night, feeling a little stronger than the day before. He felt grateful for the experience, even though it had been scary. He understood that life would have challenges, but he also understood that he had the tools to handle them with courage, patience, and fairness. And for Alex, that knowledge was more powerful than any fear he had felt when Briggs had first approached him. He knew that, no matter what happened in the future, he could face challenges with calmness, courage, and the understanding that kindness and fairness could come from the most unexpected places. The next day, Alex walked to school with a new sense of confidence, though the memory of the confrontation with Officer Briggs still lingered in his mind. The previous afternoon had been intense, and even though he had survived it and had John Cena's support, he couldn't completely shake the feeling of unease that came from being publicly humiliated. Yet this unease was tempered with a sense of strength. He had learned something important, that staying calm and respectful in difficult situations could make a real difference. When Alex arrived at school, whispers and stares greeted him. Some students had heard about what had happened the day before, and others had caught snippets of the neighborhood gossip. A few of his classmates came over to him, curiosity and admiration in their eyes. "Hey, Alex, is it true what they're saying? About the officer and John Cena?" one of them asked. Alex smiled slightly, feeling both embarrassed and proud. "Yes, it happened," he said simply. "But it's over now. I'm fine." His friends nodded, impressed by how he had handled the situation. "Wow, that's amazing," one said. "You stayed calm even when he was being so mean." "I don't think I could have done that." Alex shrugged modestly. "I didn't know what else to do. I just tried to stay calm and respectful." Throughout the day, Alex reflected on how people's reactions varied. Some students admired his courage, while others were more focused on the drama of the story. But for Alex, the lessons he had learned mattered more than the attention. He understood that his actions, no matter how small, reflected who he was and the kind of person he wanted to be. Meanwhile, Officer Briggs had been receiving attention of his own. Some neighbors had talked to the local precinct about the incident, mentioning how aggressive he had been toward a child and how a public figure had had to intervene to calm the situation. The department took note, and Briggs found himself reflecting on his actions more than he expected. The embarrassment of being confronted in public, along with the realization that his behavior had been inappropriate, left a lingering impact. Alex noticed subtle changes in the neighborhood, too. People seemed more aware, more willing to step in if they saw unfair treatment. Parents whispered to their children about standing up politely and staying calm. There was a quiet shift in the community, a sense that fairness and respect mattered more than ever. One afternoon, Alex was walking through the same street when he saw Officer Briggs patrolling. This time, Briggs noticed Alex and gave a small nod, not aggressive, not harsh, but acknowledging him. Alex returned the nod politely. There was no tension this time, only a silent understanding. The power dynamics had shifted subtly. Briggs knew Alex had handled himself with dignity, and that mattered. Alex also remembered Cena's words about courage and fairness. He thought about how bravery wasn't always loud. It could be quiet, respectful, and thoughtful. He realized that he could carry that lesson into other parts of his life, whether in school, with friends, or in future challenges. A week later, the neighborhood experienced another small incident. A younger boy, around 10 years old, had accidentally bumped into a parked car and was being scolded loudly by a nearby adult. Alex noticed immediately. He remembered how scared he had felt when Briggs had cornered him. He approached the boy calmly, speaking gently. "Hey, it's okay," Alex said softly. "Don't worry. Everyone makes mistakes sometimes. Just make sure the owner knows what happened." The boy looked up at him, eyes wide. "But he yelled at me," he said, trembling. Alex nodded sympathetically. "I know. Sometimes adults get upset, but it's not the end of the world. Stay calm and things will get better." The adult who had been scolding the boy noticed Alex's calm presence. Instead of continuing to yell, the adult softened their tone. "You're right," they said. "I got a little too angry." "Sorry, kid." Alex smiled quietly. He realized that the lessons he had learned from his own experience, staying calm, speaking respectfully, and standing up in a thoughtful way, could help not only him, but others too. The small act of support made a difference, and it reminded him that courage wasn't always about facing a big, dramatic situation. Sometimes it was about helping others in ordinary moments. Later that week, Alex's parents noticed a change in him. He seemed more confident, more thoughtful in his actions, and more aware of how he treated others. He spoke calmly about his experiences and reflected on the lessons he had learned. His parents were proud, realizing that the incident had not only taught Alex about courage, but had also helped him grow into a more empathetic and responsible young man. School life also changed in subtle ways. Teachers noticed Alex's quiet confidence. He participated more in class discussions, not aggressively, but with thoughtfulness. He helped classmates who were struggling and became a voice of calm in small conflicts. People who had seen him face Briggs with dignity admired the way he carried himself now. It wasn't fame or attention that changed him. It was the experience itself, and the understanding that courage and fairness mattered more than winning an argument. News of the incident continued to circulate in the neighborhood. People talked about how a young boy had faced a harsh authority figure with calmness, and how an unexpected ally had stepped in to ensure fairness. While Cena's role remained a surprising and inspiring element, the focus shifted more to Alex's own actions and the impact they had on those around him. One evening, Alex walked through the street where it had all happened, reflecting quietly. The sun was setting, casting a warm glow over the houses. The air felt calm and peaceful, a stark contrast to the tension of that first confrontation. Alex realized how far he had come in just a few days. He had faced fear, humiliation, and uncertainty, yet he had remained composed. He had learned that support could come unexpectedly, and that his own actions mattered greatly. He paused near the corner where Briggs had first approached him. A few neighbors waved as he passed, some smiling and nodding. Alex felt a quiet sense of pride, not arrogance but satisfaction that he had handled a difficult situation with dignity. He understood that the respect he had earned wasn't because of anyone else's influence, but because of how he chose to respond under pressure. Later, as he prepared for bed, Alex reflected on the lessons he had learned. He thought about how fear could be overwhelming, but how courage could still shine through even in small, thoughtful actions. He remembered Cena's words about strength, respect, and fairness. He realized that these lessons were not just for extraordinary moments, they were for every day. In every interaction, big or small, Alex understood now that true bravery wasn't about confrontation or aggression. It was about controlling your emotions, standing up for what's right, and helping others when you could. It was about recognizing that even small acts of courage could have lasting effects, not only on yourself but on the people around you. As he drifted to sleep that night, Alex felt a quiet sense of peace. The neighborhood had returned to its normal rhythm, and life was moving forward. But for him, the lessons of courage, fairness, and support would remain forever. He knew that no matter what challenges he faced in the future, he could face them with calmness, respect, and integrity. And in that quiet moment, Alex realized something important. Strength was not about being the loudest or the strongest. It was about being thoughtful, fair, and brave in the ways that truly mattered. And that knowledge, more than anything, gave him confidence for the days to come. The following week, Alex felt a new sense of confidence as he walked through the neighborhood. The incident with Officer Briggs and the unexpected intervention by John Cena had left a lasting impression, not just on him, but on the people around him. The streets felt familiar yet somehow different, like the neighborhood itself had shifted in small, quiet ways. Neighbors greeted each other more warmly. Parents were a little more attentive to how they spoke to children. And even the kids seemed to carry themselves with a newfound sense of respect and calmness. Alex noticed subtle changes in himself as well. He walked taller, spoke with more assurance, and approached challenges with a thoughtful mindset rather than reacting with fear or frustration. What had happened seemed big and dramatic at the time, but now he could see it as a learning experience that had strengthened him. He thought often about Cena's words, that courage wasn't about loud gestures, but about staying calm, standing up respectfully, and knowing when to ask for help. At school, Alex shared some of his experiences with his teachers during a quiet moment between classes. "I realized something important," he said to his history teacher. "It's not about being scared or angry. It's about how you respond. Being calm, respectful, and fair can make a huge difference even if you feel powerless." His teacher, impressed by the insight, smiled warmly. "That's very true, Alex. It sounds like you've learned a lot in a short time. Life will continue to test you, but it seems you've discovered a strength many adults struggle to find." Alex felt proud but modest. He didn't think of himself as extraordinary. He simply felt like he had learned something real, lessons that mattered in everyday life, not just in dramatic moments. Back in the neighborhood, the story of the confrontation continued to circulate, though in a quieter, more reflective way. People remembered how a young boy had remained calm under pressure, and how a stranger who happened to be John Cena had stepped in to ensure fairness. Yet the focus had shifted from the dramatic heroics to Alex himself. His calmness, his respectfulness, and his courage had been the most important parts of the story. One afternoon, Alex decided to revisit the corner where the encounter had first happened. He wanted to reflect on everything and see how the place felt now, after the fear and tension had passed. As he walked, neighbors greeted him with small smiles, acknowledging him quietly. He realized that the way he carried himself had changed how people perceived him, not because he had someone famous by his side that day, but because of how he had handled the situation with grace and calmness. At the corner, Alex paused and looked around. He remembered the fear, the humiliation, and the uncertainty, but he also remembered the small moments of support, the presence of Cena, and the inner strength he had discovered. It struck him that life would always have challenges and unfair situations, but how one responded could change the outcome and impact others as well. Later that evening, Alex's parents sat with him in the living room. They had noticed how much he had grown over the past week. "You've changed," his mother said gently. "You seem more thoughtful, more patient, and stronger in your own way." Alex nodded. "I think I've learned a lot about handling fear and standing up respectfully. Even when people are unfair, you can respond in ways that show courage and fairness, and it doesn't just help you, it can help others too." His father smiled. "That's very true. I'm proud of how you handled everything. Most adults would struggle in that situation, but you showed maturity and courage." Alex thought about the younger boy he had helped at the park the previous week. He realized that his experience with Briggs and Cena had given him insight into helping others. Courage wasn't just about facing personal challenges. It was also about supporting people who might be afraid or unsure. Small acts of kindness and fairness could ripple through a community, making a difference one person at a time. The following weekend, the neighborhood organized a small community event. Parents, children, and neighbors gathered in the park for games, snacks, and casual conversation. Alex participated eagerly, not only enjoying the activities but also noticing opportunities to help others. He offered to carry supplies, assist younger kids, and ensure that everyone felt included. People noticed his calm and thoughtful presence, and he felt proud of the way he could contribute.